Yeah. So before maybe there, but I was just too tired. Oh yeah, I know. Third slide. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Oh, dark, yeah. So Susan, we're good? I think we're good. Oh, good. Anyway, I kind of. We're kind of fun. Yeah, well. Yeah. No. We'll leave it on while we introduce Mark. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming this evening. Our talk this evening is by Margie Caswell. She's going to be telling us about wildflowers. She lives up in Red Feather Lakes about 6 months out of the year, and the other 6 months out of the year she lives in Arizona. If you didn't pick up one of these, she made us a beautiful list of the wildflowers, and these are all the wildflowers that are up in Red Feather Lakes. I can go ahead here. I can go ahead and pass them to you because actually here Go ahead, here, Jim.
I thought, yeah.
I brought them all inside.
You lost half your audience. Well, it's been.
Dan Barber is the head of our ecology committee. Our ecology committee here in GBM is part of the board of directors. So we're very closely attached to the office here at GBM. I wanted to introduce some of the people here tonight who are on the ecology committee. So I'll start with Susie and Terry Campbell. Susie, Terry, and I work together to put together this program, the speaker series, lecture series, and we do it once a month from April until October. So it's always on the same second Tuesday of every month, and it's always at 6:30 at night. The other members of the ecology team are Linda and Jim Petrie, if they would stand up. Linda and Jim are involved. They're the ones who do all of the trail work, and they have helpers who help them, of course, but they're responsible for the trails here in Glacier View. We have several trails, and there are trail markers at each one of the trailheads with maps, so you can always get a map from those. We also have Michael O'Neill and his wife. Michael is our webmaster, and he's the one who's responsible for the flyers that are up on the wall here, the posters. And we rely on him heavily to keep our website current. And he's got lots of really, really good stuff on the website. And some of the papers have the website information on them. It's www.gbmecology.com. Anyway, I think most everybody's here that's coming, so I'll let Margie take it away.
So I was a school district teacher in the Cooter School District, elementary, and so I like to keep things simple. I mean, I do not speak Latin, and I can't remember the Latin names of flowers, so I go by color. Now that can cause problems, but that's what I do. My grandmother was a national flower judge. She raised flowers, sold them in Des Moines, Iowa, and I remember so much going around her yard outside of Des Moines when I was a young kid, and learning about flowers. She was called the Delphinium Lady, and she was an expert on tuberous begonias and had a whole window full of African violets. So, and I have paintings that she did that are over 100 years old now of roses. So that's where I got my love. Then we moved from Iowa to Boulder, and we would go weekend in the trails west of Boulder, and we would identify wildflowers. And that was one of our activities. So I learned how just to love flowers. My brother's in Dallas, Texas, but he has columbine growing. And when he comes here, we try to find the best columbine we can. He usually comes July 4th because that's when they're the best. So I am not a trained botanist, but I like to identify flowers, and these are most of the flowers. What they are the flowers I have a good picture of. So there are a few more flowers I do not have a picture of. Do I have to point it this way?
The pointer doesn't, no, the pointer doesn't work. The big one advances your slides.
No, okay, there.
And you can point it anywhere.
Sorry, I see. It wasn't advancing here. So
Right.
I'm sorry. I have this bookmark, Advice from a Wildflower, that I love. Show your true colors, delight in simple pleasures, celebrate your natural beauty, open up like the past flowers are out, spread seeds of joy. It's okay to be a late bloomer. We want things blooming all along and be wild and wonderful. Okay, now I need to light Jim just for a little bit. Okay, I may not do these in the order that they are up there. These are the books I use the most, and this is volume 1, Plains and Foothills, and this is the mountains. Well, Red Feather is 8,000 feet. This goes up to 8,000 feet. This starts at 8,000 feet and goes up to Timberline. So you need both of them.
Plus the wildflowers don't count.
No. Then this one, these are nice size, these pocket guides. This is the Rocky Mountain Wildflower pocket guide. The only thing, like, for instance, I was trying to find green gentian. It didn't have it, but it had elkweed. And that was the first time, or one of these books had elkweed. It was the first time that I knew that's another name for it. This is something that Larimer County printed, and it's called Wildflowers and Other Plants of Larimer County. Now, it will have groups, like it'll have the cinquefoil group. So it won't have like all the different cinquefoils that these books have. But it is a really good one to know what's in Larimer County. Now, Judy Viola gave it to me when I was doing a walk. So I'm not sure if you go to Larimer County, if that's where you get it, but Wildflowers of Colorado. This is really a good one too. And this is second edition. In fact, a lot of these are the second edition. This is one of my favorites by a CSU professor, James Ills, Rocky Mountain Flora. And what I love about it is it will say, I found this at Dowdy Lake. So that really helps if they happen to say that. The absolute frustration about this is you need to know the adjective that goes before the name. So if you don't know that it's sagebrush buttercup, you have to just go through this and try to figure it out. So that's the one thing I do not like about it. This is just like this, but it by Colorado Mountain Club, but it's a pocket size and it's really good. And the pictures are just unbelievable. But again, all of these books, you can't always find every flower. For example, Golden Corydalis. This is the only book I found it in. Look at how many books I have, and I also have more. But this was the only book. And these all are by color, but this is by family. And sometimes that's really helpful too. But the pictures are smaller, but I use it too. Then if you're on a hike and you don't want to take even this, there are several laminated guides that you can take, but they're not going to show the leaves always very well. And the leaves can be helpful, but the pictures are pretty. It gives you a general idea, and it's a lot easier to carry. Here they are more like drawings. But this has trees as well. Okay. And the other thing I wanted to tell you that I like about this, besides that you have to know adjectives, is at the very back, it's got a section on grasses, on mushrooms, on lichen. So it's not just wildflowers. And so it is really a helpful book. I keep hoping they'll come out with this is the second edition. I keep thinking they'll come out where they have buttercups blank underneath. No, we don't, we can have the last second. What I like in resources is a photo drawing of the flower, the stem, the leaves, because that can make a huge difference. I love to have an index so that you can look up columbine, buttercup, whatever. And that the index will not require an adjective to know what flower it is. I want to know the time that the plant blooms. Although that makes a huge difference here, you just have to go up in altitude for the time to change. So that's not always helpful. The life zones. So is this only found in the foothills? Or is it only found in the plains? Or I'm giving a program for mountain gals in July. It's all high altitude flowers. So you're only finding them at subalpine and alpine. So that is really helpful information. The habitat, are you going to find it by the water? For instance, our shooting stars, we only find them under our aspen, where it's wetter. The size of the plant, is it just little teeny to the ground, or is it 6 feet tall? Although sometimes the moisture it gets will make it a huge difference. There are places where it says, this plant could be confused with blank blank. That is really helpful information to do that. Of course, the size of the book, what are you willing to carry? And the area covered by the book. So Rocky Mountains, Southern Rocky Mountains, I have that book, Northern Rocky Mountains. You know, so you have to decide what do you want. So this is the one I was talking about that I didn't realize it was called elkweed. And yes, on the Molly Lake, Molly Moon Trail, they get, these green gentian get that tall. And this is a close-up of the flower right here, close-up of the petal. It is absolutely glorious. And it's the main, what I would call green plant that you're going to see. You might call it white. But they get, you can see why they're called monument plant. They get so tall. So now we're going to go by color. Plains prickly pears are found in every climate. They are hardy and they spread and they are beautiful when the flowers come out. Now they're not pretty if you happen to fall in them. These are the cone flowers. And you can tell them because of how the petals dip down and the cones go up. So that's how between color and the way they're looking, that's how I remember these. It's just like when we led bird walks of a white crowned sparrow. It was so nice because it actually had a white crown and you could, and it helped you with the name. So that's what this is like. It kind of has a clone on it. And yellow prairie violets, I don't see them very often. Golden aster, they come out from a rosette. And what I mean is here they are, and then they're spreading out. And you always know that that's the golden aster when you see that happening. Golden corydalis, this is it's also called golden smoke, but I couldn't see that they were calling it that. And just a story, somebody had this on the Colorado Wildflower Facebook page, and we're calling it something, they were calling it golden banner. So I'm assuming they used a phone app, and that phone app told them the wrong thing. And I know that has happened, that people will say, well, I used my phone app, but they are not always accurate. So I don't use them very often. This is a little sunflower. It can also be called nodding sunflower. Now, there are groundsels or ragworts. And they have leaves that are basal at the base of the flower. And this is called lamb's tongue groundsel, and because the leaves look like that, like a tongue sticking out at you. Whereas this is Fendler's groundsel or ragwort, and see the leaves, how they look like a comb? So you can really tell the difference between these two. If you see those comb, in fact, there aren't very many flowers that have those comb-like leaves. This is Western Hawksbeard. I learned that on a Poudre Wilderness hike, a training hike. And I found this just right at the beginning of Lady Moon. It sort of reminded me of a dandelion, but it's got multiple heads, whereas a dandelion doesn't.
What's the leaf like?
What's
What's the
that?
leaf like on that?
The small button on the bottom.
It seems like it was, well, you can kind of see right here. Real pointy,
In grass-like?
yeah. But the fact that, but it was right after the gate on the lake trailhead. Paintbrush. And we have paintbrushes in all sorts of colors. This is the Western or yellow, and they come, and as you go up in elevation, they get these beautiful pink, rosy paintbrush. This one, I think, is yellow alpha. And there's another book that says it might be short flowered paintbrush, but I think it's owl clover. From what one of the books says, I think that it's owl clover. It's not at all like the owl clover we have in Arizona that's pink. But so this one, I think, is what that is. Now we get to the cinquefoils, and cinquefoils have 5 petals. And this is leafy cinquefoil. There's also going to be shrubby cinquefoil, silverleaf cinquefoil, and others. And you'll see some of these. There's beauty cinquefoil, and palmated means it has like your hand. So it has palmated leaves, and it still has 5 petals. Then silverweed cinquefoil, it's got red stems, and the leaves are different, and it runs along the ground. This is Gaillardia, blanket flower, or brown-eyed Susan. And that's the main Latin word that I know. Because that's what they call it, is Gaillardia, and it's one of its Latin names. Then the black-eyed Susan, as opposed to brown-eyed Susan. But I'll tell you, it can be hard. Is that black or is it brownish black? You know, so anyway, you know it's one of the two, and you can decide if that you care. This is meadow arnica, and arnicas all have a single stem. And the meadow arnica have leaves that are opposite each other. Now, heartleaf arnica, easy to tell the difference. Again, one single flower, but they've got heart-shaped leaves. Stonecrop, one of our succulents. Okay, there are buttercups out right now. And I have a book that's like the best wildflower hikes in Colorado. It's got several volumes. And she doesn't even try to distinguish the buttercups. She said there's, I think, 22 buttercups. And she'll just say, on this trail, you're going to see buttercups. But the Dr. L's book is really good about buttercups. And there's at least 6 he has in that book. Well, these are out right now. And they're very shiny. And they have leaves that are, excuse me, like this kind of lance, but not grass-like. Excuse me. Okay, now Meadows buttercup is the other buttercup that's out right now. And they said that the sap is toxic to your skin on all of them, but notice the leaves are different. They're not as thick, they're more cutting. They're cut like. And the other thing to notice, they have petals, but then they have these little stems, little other parts to the flower coming out, as opposed to, I'm gonna go backwards. See how it's different? It's easy to tell the difference between the flowers. Okay, in this book, Dr. L says there are shore buttercups along Dowdy Lake. And those shore buttercups have flowers like this, but leaves like the other. And I haven't found them yet. I live right by Dowdy Lake, but I have not found them, and they're supposed to be really tiny. So those are two buttercups that you're seeing a lot of right now. So antelope bitterbrush, this year, that year that I took this picture, they were prolific everywhere with their yellow. It really should be called pronghorn bitterbrush. Because antelope should not be called that, they should be called pronghorn. But they're really good for you. So I've thrown in a few shrubs here. This is salsify. And it's like a tall dandelion. Oh, thank you. And when it goes to seed, it's so beautiful. And one of the problems with living in Arizona part of the year, this would be called silver puffs, you know, so I have to turn my mind around to, this is salsify. If I'm in Arizona, it's silver puffs. And it gets its name there because of the seeds, not because of the flower. Goldenrod. Whenever you see a plant with lots of little teeny yellow flowers, it's going to be a goldenrod most of the time. And there are different goldenrods. There's the flat-topped goldenrod. And I did put the Latin name there, but you can see why it's a lot easier to say flat-topped goldenrod. And you remember that. And it has grass-like leaves. With room parsley. This has lots of umbrellas. So and the whole flower head looks like an umbrella, but with a lot of little extra umbrellas. And the parsley-like leaves down at the bottom. Sulfur flower is in the buckwheat family. And when it first comes up and it's got basal leaves, it's yellow, but then later in the season, it turns orangish. So those are the same, just different times of the year. This was taken by Dowdy Lake, and it was growing in the rocks, and this is round leaf elm root. And that's where I mainly have found it where it's wet. Golden pea or golden banner. You see how that looks nothing like golden corydalis. And this just fills our meadows coming up. And it has kind of like a bonnet kind of shaped flower. And there are a lot of willows. And in Dr. L's book, I mean, there are willows that have red branches, they have green branches, there's a lot of different willows, but I just put that in there and you'll find it only in the riparian areas.
What does riparian mean?
What now?
What does riparian mean?
Oh, river,
Okay,
wet,
thanks.
pond. Okay, now we're at local weed, and local weed can come in a lot of colors. It's poisonous to livestock. And this was taken on the Molly Lake Trail, but as later on in the spring, as you drive up through all the ranches, you're gonna see a lot of the local weed there, unless the ranchers have taken it out. Now, Heather Knight, who with the Nature Conservancy, taught us that if you take the flower and you bend it back, it will have a keel like a boat. If it doesn't have a keel, it's a veg. But if it has a keel, it's a local weed, because they look a lot alike. But I'm sorry, I don't have any local weed right now to show you that. And along Dowdy Lake, this is a milk vetch. Not as tall, it's going more on the ground. They're pussy toes, and if they're pink, they're called rosy pussy toes. You can see how they got their name. This is a geranium. There's a white version that's Richardson's geranium. But the pink one is called one name is sticky geranium. These are spring beauty. And they are starting to come up. We saw them on the. Oh, okay. This is Gayflower or Blazing Star. This is an invasive that you should probably know about. It is pretty, but it's hound's tongue. It's toxic to animals.
It has very nasty seeds.
But now,
It has very nasty seeds.
now this is Rose Avens, but when it goes to seed, which would be right here. And there, it's kind of like it has a bad hair day. And so then Rose Avens is when it looks like rose hips. And Prairie Smoke is when it looks like, when it's gone to seed. And it has, so both names apply. Bee balm or horseman. I remember, a lot of you remember Linda Adams used to live here. And Linda and I saw a plant and she said, that's bee balm. And I think she said horseman. I can't remember. One of us said it was one thing and one of us said it was the other. I got home and I looked and the Latin was the same. So they were the exact same plant, but we each had learned the other name. So that's when Latin comes in important, not that you need to know it, but you can look it up and see that you're talking about the same plant. Silverleaf Phacelia. And then behind it is sticky helia, and I'll be showing you that. This is kind of a scorpion weed-like plant, this Phacelia. Wild rose, a shrub, and the rose hips are a really good food source. And I love it when they're first coming out and they're that dark pink. And there are two kinds of roses. This is the wild rose. Kinnikinnick or bearberry. A creeping evergreen right now. And I've been seeing a few with flowers coming out. They call it, some places call that Chinese lantern. Shooting stars. These were taken at Disappointment Falls, this particular picture. But if you look any riparian area, wet area, or for us, near us, the water seems to come down through the aspen. That's where we always find our shooting stars. And sometimes they're white. And this is fireweed. It's supposed to be the first flower after a fire. And we were in Washington, the state of Washington, at Mount St. Helens. I don't remember how many years after the explosion. What was the flower that was coming up? The fireweed. Elk had been going around and breaking up the ash, and the fireweed were able to come up. And they bloom starting at the bottom and then go to the top. Mountain ball cactus are out right now. And it's one joy that we have is looking around all the different rocks and see if we can find the mountain ball cactus. And on the library hike Monday, somebody tried to tell me this was a barrel cactus. No, it is a mammalia cactus. It's that kind of a cactus because it looks like a woman's breast. So mammalia. Anyway, it's a mountain ball cactus. There's another one of the biggest ones that we have that we've seen.
They're the same as a pincushion cactus?
No,
Okay.
those are tinier, they have tiny, tiny spines. And I'm trying to remember if we have some in Arizona where it makes a crown, the flowers go around in a crown. I can't remember if that's a pincushion or not. So here's penstemon. So penstemon get their name from penta, 5. And so they have 2 lips above and 3 below. And I went with a friend out to the Pawnee grasslands. She had a whole book on penstemons. I mean, an entire book. So there's a lot of them, but these are our low penstemons. Then we have one-sided penstemons. You can see the difference. There's low, and then later on, one-sided. And they get to have a pink and the flowers are bigger. Then there's bunch penstemon or clustered penstemon, and you can see the difference. They have a group of flowers, then a space, then a group of flowers, then a space. And so they're a clustered or bunched penstemon. And blue-eyed grass. That's not always easy to find. They like to hide in the grass. And purple fringe or silky Phacelia. One of the best places to see this is at the Molly Lake Trailhead. There's just always lots of them, right? And then the Rocky Mountain iris with golden banner. Monkshood, all plants are toxic, and they're even white monkshood. And I love, you will often see this in the Lady Moon meadow, when the water's out. And this is sticky helia, and it has really tiny flowers. It's hard to get a picture of it. And right now we've got pasque flowers coming out. And some of them that were out before the snowstorms came, they've gone past, but the ones that weren't up yet are just beautiful. And we live between Dowdy Lake and Parvin, and this is the meadow near our house, and it just fills. In fact, they are there now. Or if you go on the Frog Pond Trail, you'll see this too, just hillsides of pasque flowers. And skullcap, Britain skullcap, and you can imagine that being a skull. And I've been trying to transplant some and get it started in our rock garden. Okay, daisies. Daisies come out in June through August, and asters come out from August to September. But I have this quote: Asters are extremely difficult to identify and distinguish from one another and from daisies. So I'm gonna try to help you, but who knows if you got it right. But essentially, asters are usually later and daisies are usually first. So daisies are usually white with a large center disc. Asters have skinnier petals. They're thin purple, pink, or white petals with a smaller disc. I'm gonna go back, bigger disc, smaller disc. They have wider rays, and underneath, if it was turned upside down, the bracts that are under the flower look like shingles. And my book from Steamboat Wildflowers says asters are never yellow. Now, I don't know about that, but that's what the book said. Here's a tansy aster. And if you'll look, see how they're kind of looking like this has hooks. But those are the bracts that we're talking about that can be shingled. And so that makes them an aster. And they're in the fall. Now, the thing you're seeing the most is cut leaf daisies. And their leaves have just been like somebody took scissors to them. And there's another view. And they're just all over. I have one now that I've seen. These are the Townsend daisies or the Easter daisies. And they are close to the ground. They're bigger around. And so I'm going to go back. See how cut-leaf daisies stick up more? But Townsend daisies are close to the ground. And a bigger flower. And they're just coming out now that I've seen them. Whip-flat daisy or trailing fleabane. And they will be coming. Now you're seeing lots of mountain candy tuft. So as far as white flowers right now, you're seeing the cut-leaf daisies, the Townsend daisies, and these mountain candy tuft, or the inside of the past flowers. Nine bark is a shrub. And it comes later. This is miner's candle. I took a picture, I had to put both here. Typically you see it like on the right, but here was this one where it had all these different candles coming out of the same plant. And when these go dry up, our daughters used to use them like microphones and just dance around. And the standard star lilies are coming out now, especially down here in Glacier. This is northern bedstraw, so just like the goldenrod, a lot of little teeny flowers. If you have a lot of little teeny white flowers, it's probably bedstraw. And Linda Bell, who used to live here, told me that they were used by settlers to stuff their mattresses to keep them smelling nice. That's how they got their name. So little teeny yellow flowers are on a stalk, or goldenrod, little teeny white, or northern bedstraw. Here's Mariposa or sago lilies. I see them called the same. That's butterfly. And a couple of years ago, we had so much moisture, they were just everywhere. Now, the interesting thing in Arizona is orange and yellow. I have not seen a white Mariposa lily yet, at least in the Tucson area or the Patagonia area.
That's the flower that's on the flyer and the poster for.
Really?
Stock.
This is sickle top lousewort, or they call it parrot's beak. very unusual kind of flower. Boulder raspberry, if you see a shrub with big flower, I mean, they're as big as my hand almost, it's boulder raspberry.
Does it get
Like if I have
berries?
a fist, they're really big.
Does it get berries?
You know, I can't remember.
It
It does.
does, but they're not really
They're
raspberries.
raspberries.
You're dry.
Yeah.
Go around boulders, so that part of the thing, you have to get a place to find the boulders.
Marsh marigold, and I want you to notice, and you'll see these in the Lady Moon Meadow. They have real rounded leaves. Okay, then there's globe flower, which has more like palmated leaves that are coming out that are jagged. So let's go back. We find them together a lot. There's the marsh marigold with the more round leaves, and then the globe flower. And sometimes the globe flower is a little bit more yellow than that, but you'll find them in riparian areas, in the ponds, meadows. Evening primrose, they bloom at night, and if you don't get out in time to see them, they will start turning pink, like you're seeing here. They're fading away, and then the next day they'll come out again. Not the same flowers, another. This is rock or spotted saxifrage, and I found it on the Lady Moon to Molly Lake down to Lady Moon Trail. And it looks a lot like that. If you're an Agatha Christie mystery reader, you know this is a way to get rid of somebody. And it's a death camas, very highly poisonous. But beautiful, it is beautiful. Field pennycress. Their pussy toes have basal leaves. And you'll notice they're just really close to the ground. Okay, now we've got pearly everlasting, which are taller, and they have these leaves along the stem. So I'll go back. So there's pussy toes, and then pearly everlasting. Then somewhere in between, there are tall pussy toes. I cannot figure out what is a tall pussy toe versus a pearly everlasting. Is it the height or anyway? I have not figured that one out. And right now you're seeing snowball saxifrage, and the way to know it are these basal leaves. Later on, you're going to have American bistorp, and they're going to look very similar. And you get, now that as our grass flowers go away, then the meadows start to be just all snowball saxifrage. Mouse-eared chickweed, if you can look, there's a petal and it's got this little indentation like two little ears all the way around. So that helps me remember that that's mouse-eared chickweed. Yarrow has feathery leaves. And it's supposed to be good to make tea. And then silver penstemon. Waxflower is a shrub, and the leaves just are really soft and feathery, not feathery, smooth, like velvet. Chokecherry is a shrub that a lot of us like to make jams or jellies out of. Now there's only going to be 2 orange flowers. This is coral. There's spotted coral root and there's striped coral root. I've only seen spotted coral root. And it's a parasite. It grows it gets its nutrients from other places. Then this is the wood lilies, and there is a place in Crystal Lakes that the Crystal Lakes hiking group goes to, and they know how to get there. And we always go like July 10th or so to see if they are out. And I think they may be in other places, but they're rare. Oh, sorry, three orange flowers. And this is pine drops. They lack chlorophyll, so they have to get things from decaying matter. And they live only one season. And red anemone. And these will be coming up after the past flowers leave. And they'll be right along the bridge as you go over Mount Margaret. Now, this is Wyoming state flower, the Wyoming paintbrush, and they're a lot different than our rosy paintbrushes. Their bracts are further apart. There's more space in them. Western blue flax. And you'll think that they've gone away. They just kind of fold up and then they come bloom the next day again. Now, whether it's different ones, different blooms, I don't know for sure. Here's our columbine. My favorite. And I had to put in a couple pictures. I told you, my brother and I always try to find. And there. These are the harebells. The mountain harebell hangs down, but the Perry harebell, and I didn't have any picture of it, faces up. They're both harebells. There's rock clematis, which is a vine. Larkspur. And I always like to remind people that if you look right here, there's a little thing sticking out. It's like a cowboy spur. So that helps you remember the name larkspur. You see a blue flower, it's a delphinium with a spike sticking out, it's larkspur. It's toxic. This is many flowered stick seed or false forget-me-not. Right now, you're starting to see the landsleep chiming bells. And up at higher altitudes, they're going to be really tall chiming bells along the streams. And this is pleated gentian. It doesn't come until August or September, and it's always special when it arrives. If you go up higher in elevation, then you're going to have a lot of other gentians, the star gentian, the fringe gentian, the twisted gentian, there's a bunch of them. But you have to go up higher elevations in July, August. And Elphantella or elephant head, again, it's found in riparian areas, and you can see how it got its name. That's in the Lady Moon Meadow. I mean, it just gets covered with Elphantella. And there's Geyer's onion, and the nodding onion comes later, and it nods, it bends down. And then this is a lichen, and we were taught, this is the elementary, Freddie Fungus and Alice Algae took a liken to each other because you need fungus and you need algae to make lichen. And this is orange lichen, and we have been told on numerous trips that rodents make the orange lichen. I have no idea if that's true, but you often see it where they might have been hiding. And now just some pretty pictures. Do you remember the year the iris were everywhere on the Boy Scout Ranch Road? Oh, It just filled it. And then here's some more. We've got mouse-ear chickweed, we've got larkspur, golden banner, meadow arnica, wild iris, and then the meadow arnica with opposite leaves and one flower stem. And then there's the American distort that comes out later than snowball saxifrage. And that's it.
Mark,
Yes,
do you have any apps for your phone that you recommend?
well, I put, they were, let's see, not sure how to go to it. Okay, I have used. I have had it on that resources I use, but I didn't mention it. I'm not good at that. Now Randy, Bobby's Randy is good at that. There's one that's called iNaturalist. There's one that's called PlantNet or something like that. I can't read, see how. See if I can go down here. It's on my phone. The battery's running low. Anyway, I can't read what it says, but it's one that I have, there's a Colorado wildflower.
But Marty, Randy just said that his disappeared off his phone.
Oh, it
And it's
did?
not available, so that was yesterday, so
Okay.
he's trying to figure out what.
But there's one. I can't know how to, and your battery's going low. Susie, I just need to make that slide bigger so I can read it.
Oh, should be plugged in. Okay,
Or put it at, I guess we can do that. Can we just have it start again? I just go to the third one. And I know somebody has said iNaturalist is one thing to use. But I have, there's one that I've got where you choose the leaf type, the flower type, and it'll have pictures, and you click on the leaf and on the plant, how many petals, where did you find it? It's red, there, it's red. And it's the third. There, okay. So you're saying Randy's Colorado
That's what
wildflowers
his
went
just
away?
disappeared. Yeah, he doesn't know.
Okay, then PlantNet is the other one that I have used, that PlantNet. But the Colorado wildflowers was the one where it said, tell me, click on the color, click on the flower, click on the leaf, and then it would help you identify it. And then I know we were taking a walk and somebody was using theirs and it said it was dwarf morning glories. Well, I knew it by another name, but it was just because it was common names that were the same. And when I got home, I could see that it was also called dwarf morning glory.
And is there a group that will help you out? For example, for insects, there's Ant-Man Hill that you can go as a group. You send it in there, they want to know where you're located. And they will help you identify that insect. Is there anything like that? For
Well, okay, I'm a member of the Colorado Wildflower, I forget it's called, report group on Facebook. And so I'll put on the wildflowers I'm seeing, what date and where, and I almost always identify them, but sometimes people will say, I don't know what this is, and so everybody else will help identify them. And that's on Facebook, and it's something like Colorado Wildflower Report.
I have an app picture this, and I.
Yes.
Yeah, take a picture of the flower, and it comes up and tells you exactly what it is.
And it's called
And-
Picture This.
Yeah, picture this, and it gives poems and descriptions, like, yeah, it's a really fun app.
Yes,
I was wondering if you have any favorite flowers that you've been able to plant in your rock garden that transfer really well, or that you propagate, like,
The columbine will reseed themselves. That has helped. But I get red pepper flakes at the big bottles at Costco and put them around because it doesn't matter what I plant. The little chipmunks, the deer, the whatever will come and eat them. So that's the biggest problem, is not will they come back up. I mean, here they have the whole meadow. And they eat mine.
Of course, red pepper flakes, that's.
But somebody told me to get cayenne pepper and I noticed I was at Costco today and they had sriracha something. I wondered if I should.
I also got coyote urine at,
Yeah, right.
at Shannon's, because I guess it doesn't burn any of the leaves, so you don't have to worry about that. Stays in burn.
No, we have tried that too.
Have you?
Yeah. But like marigolds, our daughter was getting married and I planted out marigolds the day before. And they were not there.
Oh, no.
On marigolds, nothing's supposed to. So. I can't help you with that. But I know in Arizona, I have, in our yard, I have wildflower seeds and they keep coming back, but they don't have anything eating them other than some birds come every once in a while. Any other questions? Yeah.
Would you consider some of them as too many, as a weed more than a flower? Because the sink bulb just is everywhere.
Oh,
And I,
One person to ask that.
yeah, I know.
Shame on you.
no, but in Arizona, I pull up London Rocket and I pull up other things that trailing flea bane just takes over. And so I do pull that up
Yeah,
so that I can see the cactus.
yeah.
coming up. But no, I love sequoia. I don't have that problem, Pat. I'm sorry.
Well, I've got lots of it. I'll dig it up and get it to you.
Any other questions? Well, good luck to your committee. What a wonderful committee to have. I'm sorry.
We have refreshments, brownies, banana bread, hummus,
I want to
crackers,
take this
water.
out, but I know.
So help yourselves. Stay around if you want.
I could find her, but I.
If you have a nut allergy.
And it's spread.
Yeah, I could go for every,